March 12, 2025, a federal courtroom in San Francisco. At the defense table sits a man from Texas who spent years selling the world's first anti-money laundering cryptocurrency. A coin engineered, he said, so criminals could never touch it. Biometric locks, built-in compliance, crime-proof money. The jury files in. The foreman stands. Count 1, wire fraud, guilty. Count 2, money laundering, guilty. Read that verdict back slowly, partner. The man who sold the world an anti-money laundering coin was just convicted of laundering money through that same coin. That's not irony. That's a confession written into a product name. So tonight, we work this one differently. No timeline. No rise and fall in 3 acts. Tonight we take one name, AML Bitcoin, and we put it in the interrogation room, clause by clause, because not one part of that name survives questioning. Get comfortable. This is case file number 4. Let's start with the first clause. 3 letters. AML. Anti-Money Laundering. The man behind the coin was Roland Marcus Andrade, founder and chief executive of something called the NAC Foundation. From July 2017 through late 2018, his company sold AML Bitcoin to the public in an initial coin offering and pulled in at least $5.6 million from more than 2,400 investors. By the time the case closed, prosecutors put the whole fraud at roughly $10 million. Understand the moment. 2017, the ICO gold rush. Thousands of new coins begging for money, regulators circling the whole industry, and every headline screaming about crypto crime. Into that fear walks a token whose entire identity is, we're the clean one. We're the coin the government will love. For an investor scared of scams, it was catnip. The safe choice. That was the genius of it. The scam was camouflaged as protection from scams. And the pitch was beautiful. This wasn't another get-rich token. This was the responsible coin, the one built with biometric technology, your identity welded to your money, so it could never be used anonymously. It ran supposedly on a privately regulated public blockchain. Andrade's own profile called it, quote, perhaps the first and possibly only coin compliant with anti-money laundering and anti-terrorism laws. Regulators looked, and what they found was this. The superior anti-laundering technology, the anti-terrorism shielding, the theft-resistant design, none of it existed. The actual development was in its earliest stages. The compliance coin was a coin-shaped compliance costume. Now, a lie that vague needs a flagship. Something concrete. Something with ships in it. Literally. Andrade told investors that the Panama Canal Authority was close to permitting AML Bitcoin for ships passing through the canal. Picture the sales call. Thousands of ships a year, global trade itself, paying tolls in his coin. Any day now. There was no agreement. There was no close. A jury found the whole Panama story was fiction, one false claim after another, stacked into the illusion of a legitimate business. Here's what I want you to notice, partner. A compliance claim is a checkable claim. The Panama Canal Authority is about to approve us. That's not a vision. That's a verifiable fact with a phone number attached. Nobody called Panama. The louder the badge, the fewer people ask to see it. Remember that. We'll come back to it. And when checkable claims ran out, they manufactured spectacle. January 2018. The NAC Foundation announces that its Super Bowl commercial, an ad showing AML Bitcoin standing impervious to North Korean hackers, has been rejected. Too politically controversial for the network and the NFL. Newspapers wrote it up, the banned ad. The coin too dangerous for television. The truth? The foundation didn't have the money for a Super Bowl slot. Prosecutors say they never intended to buy one. There was nothing to reject. The rejection was the advertisement. Outrage as a marketing channel, and it cost them nothing. Second clause. Bitcoin. Short interrogation. This one. AML. Bitcoin was not Bitcoin. It had no connection to Bitcoin. No shared code that mattered. No shared network. No shared anything. It was the NAC Foundation's own token, wearing the most trusted name in crypto like a rented uniform. Ask yourself why a founder does that. If your technology is real, you name it after yourself. You don't staple your product to a famous brand unless the brand is doing the work your product can't. So the same trick runs through the whole name. Borrow credibility you didn't earn. AML borrowed the authority of regulators. Bitcoin borrowed the fame of a coin that actually worked. Put together, the name was two lies holding hands. So if the compliance was fake and the Bitcoin was fake, what was real? The money. The money was real. And money that's real has to go somewhere. But before we follow it, someone walks into this case file, and if you know Washington, you already gasped. Jack Abramoff. If the name means nothing to you, in the 2000s, Abramoff was the most infamous lobbyist in America. The face of a corruption scandal that burned through Congress, sent him to federal prison for about 4 years, and turned his name into shorthand for everything rotten about influence for hire. They made movies about this man, and in 2017, fresh off his redemption tour, he went to work promoting AML Bitcoin. His specialty hadn't changed, manufacturing the appearance of independent support. Prosecutors say Abramoff arranged for the foundation to secretly pay for opinion pieces and articles. Published as if they were neutral journalism, actually bought advertising in a costume. He helped run the fake Super Bowl rejection stunt, too. The man who once bought congressmen was now buying columnists. In June 2020, the government charged them both. Andrade. Wire fraud and money laundering. Abramoff. Conspiracy to commit wire fraud. And, in a footnote for the history books, a separate lobbying violation that made him the first person ever criminally prosecuted under the Lobbying Disclosure Act, the law they wrote in part because of people like him. Abramoff didn't fight. He pleaded guilty in 2020, signed the paperwork of his own downfall for the second time in one lifetime. Hold that thought. His bill comes due at the end of this file, and the amount will surprise you. Now, follow the money, like the IRS agents did. Investor funds came in for the coin that would end money laundering, and then, prosecutors proved, more than $2 million of it went sideways, routed through a web of different bank accounts until the trail blurred, then out the other side as Andrade's personal property. 2 properties in Texas. 2 luxury automobiles. Regulators also say he quietly directed manipulation of the token's own market, pumping its price and volume. Look at the mechanics, layering money through accounts to hide where it came from. That's not a metaphor for money laundering. That is money laundering. The exact crime his product existed to prevent, committed with that product's revenue. The anti-money-laundering coin didn't just fail to stop laundering. It funded it. The trial came in early 2025 in San Francisco, 5 weeks. And Andrade's defense was the oldest move on this board, point at the other guy. His lawyer told the jury Andrade had been swimming with the sharks, a naive dreamer used by slick operators, used above all by Jack Abramoff. 5 weeks of bank records and marketing copy laid side by side. The promises on one screen, the wire transfers on the other. And remember who was on the receiving end of those promises, more than 2,400 people who specifically picked the coin that sounded safest. The careful ones. That detail should sting. The jury deliberated. And on March 12, 2025, they answered, guilty of wire fraud, guilty of money laundering. In 2025, both counts, no asterisks. July 29, 2025. Chief Judge Richard Seaborg hands down the sentence, 84 months, 7 years in federal prison, 3 years of supervised release after that. Andrade reported to prison on Halloween. The prosecutor's summary was surgical. The defendant made one false claim after another to create, quote, the illusion of a legitimate business. And Abramoff? In November 2025, the same judge gave him 3 years of probation and a $2.2 million restitution bill. No prison. His lawyers cited an aggressive cancer diagnosis. The judge saw, quote, very little prospect of reoffending. The founder got 7 years. The fixer walked home. That's not a loophole. That's how pleading guilty early works. But I understand if your eyebrow just did what mine did. So what does Case File 4 teach us? One thing mainly, and I want it pinned dead center on your board. Trust badges are marketing until proven otherwise. Anti-money laundering, in the name. Regulated. Compliant. Government partnership pending. Every one of those is a claim somebody typed, and the louder the compliance claim, the harder you check it. The honest ones will show you receipts. The Andrades of the world will show you a name, because a padlock printed on the box tells you nothing about the box. Sometimes it tells you what's missing. This board's done. But the next folder on my desk is already open, and it's a strange one. A man in 1978 who stole $10.2 million from a bank with a single phone call and tried to turn it into Soviet diamonds. Case File 5 is already open. Subscribe, partner.